So today I'm going to attempt to make a realistic working trebuchet. No thrusters, no glitches, no engines, no powered bearings, an actual gravity-powered trebuchet. Something tells me this isn't going to go well. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, this is ScrapMan bringing you another episode of Scrap Mechanic, and today we're actually doing a creation for one of my patrons on Patreon. He's actually the highest tier that you can get, and included in that is a personalized creation, and his idea was something that I figured might be fun to make an actual entire episode from. So this idea comes from Jesse, and he asked me to make a trebuchet. So I figured I'd actually want to do it as legitimately as I could, which means I'm not going to try to cheat and use like thrusters or anything like that. I'm actually going to try to use a counterweight gravity. We might not be able to make something that can throw something very far, but maybe we can at least make it throw something. And if we can't make it work, then we'll just go crazy with it and see what we can do using unconventional methods. But you know how Scrap Mechanic is with conventional physics, so I don't have a lot of faith that it's going to work like a real trebuchet, even if I make it exactly the way a real trebuchet is supposed to be made. But we're gonna see what happens. Now first, we need to start with a base. So this technically isn't gonna matter, but just for the sake of convenience in case, I'm going to make the base really heavy out of metal. I will probably weld it to the ground just so we don't have to worry about it. But if it's metal, the heavier the base is and the more stable it's gonna be when the thing is swinging around. So we'll just make it out of metal. Yeah, I'm gonna make it relatively wide, and I guess I'll make it 3 lengths long. This is gonna be somewhat of a big trebuchet, and one of the reasons being is that I really wanna make sure that we can have a nice counterweight on it. If we can have a nice counterweight, then that'll make things go much smoother. All right, so here's our base. So now I'm gonna start building the frame. We're gonna need to support the pivot point with like a triangle A-frame type thing. So I'm gonna go ahead and build that on here, and I'm gonna weld it to the other side. All right, I just made the frame, and to be honest, it didn't go as high as I expected it to be. So I'm actually gonna cheat a little bit and just add a little bit more height like this. All right, so now we have our center point. So this is essentially gonna be the pivot. So this is where I'm gonna start using wood, actually. And I'm actually gonna have to put this on a lift again so I can weld that. So we're gonna start using wood so we can make it as light as possible on its pivot joints. That way, hopefully we can get as much momentum as we can into our projectile. So we just weld that. Okay, so now the way trebuchets work is it has a counterweight, a really, really heavy counterweight on one side that is very close to the pivot point, and then it has a really long arm that carries the projectile. So that counterweight will pull the longer end on a really, really fast rotation because it's further away from the pivot point. So what I think I'm gonna do is I'm actually going to build it vertical, so the counterweight is already gonna be at its resting position. That way, when we spawn it off a lift, it's not gonna go crazy. So what I'm gonna do for the counterweight is also gonna be on bearings, so that way it can stay level to the ground at all times. And I think that's also how they do it on an actual trebuchet too. So now I'm gonna start using metal for this part. We're just gonna make a huge block counterweight here. Actually, I'm just gonna go as close down to the ground as I can here. I think the heavier we can make this, the better it'll work. All right, so this is the counterweight I have built so far. I think we're gonna keep it here for now. Hopefully we don't need to add much more. And one thing I'm concerned about now is, are we even gonna be able to lift the counterweight up into its position? We're gonna have to have some type of mechanism to pull down the trebuchet into its stored energy state, and I'm not sure what the best way to do that is going to be. We're gonna have some type of mechanism that is going to push or pull it, but we're gonna figure out that when we get to it. Next up, we have to create the other side of the arm, which, now that I think about it, I need to see how long I actually want to make it. So I'm gonna attach a controller now to the pivot point, and we're gonna see if the controller even has enough strength to turn this, because I need to be able to reach the top end of it so I can build the rest of the arm out towards the sling. But let's see how this goes. Hopefully with the double bearings, it'll be a little bit more doable. There we go. Now it is a free floating bearing. Now let's do it at 45 degrees. All right, so it is moving that way. Now if I attach this bearing, move that to 45 degrees. All right, they're fighting each other right now, so I think... There we go. All right, so now I'm gonna do it at like 120 degrees. Wait, why aren't they working now? Oh, I think now we've actually reached the weight limit. I don't think these bearings can do it anymore. This might actually boost it a little bit. All right, what if I use my lift? Oh, I can't put my lift down on this thing. Oh. Actually, if I weld it to the ground, it could work. Let's see what happens if I weld this to the ground. Oh, you can see it trying. Now I'm gonna help it out with the lift a little bit. It is gonna be so hard. I don't know if we're actually gonna be able to counteract this weight just in general here. This is going to be very interesting. All right, well, I have this at an angle that I can use now. So we're gonna go ahead and just build this out. I'm gonna expand this a little bit for reference here, just so I know when I've reached the flat area. All right, here we go, right about there. So now we have to create the sling. This is gonna be the part that I think is gonna be the hardest part to get down, is a sling that actually carries the projectile up. And you know what? This actually could be the method here. I could use the lift, and then once I remove the lift, it's gonna go. I kind of want to save this before. Actually, I can... Even if it breaks, if I put it on a lift, it should reset. So I'm not gonna save it yet. I'm just gonna try something really, really quick. All right, I'm just gonna experiment right now. I'm gonna remove this lift, and then we're gonna see what happens to this arm here. All right, this is kind of like a proof of concept. Does this even have a possibility of working? What should happen is this arm should just swing up really, really fast. If that doesn't happen, I really can't imagine that not happening, but if it doesn't happen, we're gonna have some issues. Here we go, in 3, 2, 1, go. Okay. Oh, you know, I made a mistake too. I forgot to remove the controller from the bearing, so it was actually fighting the controller that whole time. So here, now let's do this. Now let's see if that makes a difference on how fast the arm swings. Here we go, in 3, 2, 1, go. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. This might be possible. All right, one thing I'm realizing that might be an issue is building it the way I did might not have been a good idea, because now I don't know how to set the sling. I don't know how to put the sling on here in a way that's gonna work. So I'm gonna put it on a lift now. We're gonna see what it looks like on a lift. All right, so there's what it looks like. So we pretty much have to build the sling. I guess we can build it going down the length of the arm. Let's just do an experiment with that really quick. So I'm thinking I'm going to use pipes for a sling. I don't know if this is the best way to do it. I know other people have made trebuchets before. Some of them were like not legitimate trebuchets where they just kind of cheated and used thrusters or something. They were more like catapults, if anything. But Grego, as far as I know, has one of the more realistic trebuchets, but he uses thrust for weight. He uses downwards thrust, I think, to actually help the counterweight. I'm gonna try to do it with pure gravity, no thrust at all. And we're gonna see if that's gonna work. So now let's see, if I have this here, and then I take it off the lift, and I weld it back here. All right, so now what happens if I try to push this up? What's gonna happen to the sling? All right, the sling is gonna go down like that. Okay, all right. I can work with this, kinda. Let's actually do this a little bit shorter. Maybe even one shorter. All right, there we go. Oh, you know what? I can't do it like this, because I have no way to attach the sling to the other side if I'm building it down from the top. And the reason being is because when we put this on a lift, you can see I need to attach that sling to another part on the other side, and I'm not gonna be able to do that. So we're actually gonna have to build the sling out that way, and that's just gonna be awkward. But we're gonna try it anyway. All right, we have somewhat, oh, actually that's gonna work out kind of nice. We have somewhat of a resemblance of a sling up there, and I put a bar in between it so that I could actually weld both sides together already, and that bar is actually being useful of angling the sling at a decent angle rather than having it go all the way back down through the arm. So let's go ahead and weld this back down, and we're gonna see if we can actually get this sling to settle in a decent spot after we find the right length. All right, here we go. Whoa. This is so weird. All right, come on down now. Whoop, and down. All right, there we go. Whoa. Oh, that's not good. That is not good. All right, that's okay though. We just wanted it down here anyway, so we knew how long to extend this thing out. So we'll just go ahead and extend it to, I guess right here is where we need to start building the actual sling part. So I'm gonna go ahead and put some pipes going out like this. And I think the sling should probably have bearings on it as well, which means I'm gonna have to weld again. All right, so now if we put this back on a lift, it should be fixed. There we go. All right, so this is what it's looking like so far. So how's our sling looking? Our sling only goes down to there, okay. Oh, I just got a really weird idea. You know what, I'm not gonna do it right now. I'm not gonna do it right now. The idea I was having is what if I actually make the sling more of a rope by adding more bearings into it, but I don't wanna overcomplicate things. So we'll leave it like this for now, and we're gonna see how this works after we figure out how to make an actual bucket or like holster for the projectile. Very not confident in this working very well. I just don't think it's gonna release a projectile is the only thing. Like I really have a feeling that the projectile is gonna get stuck in here, or it's gonna release too early, or it's gonna release too late. Something along those lines. All right, there we go. There is somewhat of a basket of our sling. Now let's see, can we actually get this sling to rest in a good position? So all I'm gonna do is, oh, I gotta weld this first, and then we're gonna do our lift method. All right, here we go, moment of truth. Will I be able to get this sling to hang down here without glitching? The lift method might not be the best method. I'll be willing to concede that this might not be the most reliable way to get this counterweight up. Whoa, but wait, what happened? What? All right, it glitched into itself. That's unfortunate. Maybe it's about time that we explore alternate options of how to actually lock this into place. See, now normally you'd have a bunch of people with a rope or something just pulling it down, and then they can have a release lever, but we don't have that luxury of grabbing anything and pulling it. So I might have to make a, the problem is I don't know if I can actually make a mechanism. Oh wait, maybe pistons. Pistons are pretty strong. I might be able to use pistons. But the tough part is that I actually need it to rotate. All right, so get this. I'm thinking about having something like this up here where it'll actually, this will pull it down by rotation if it's strong enough. And then there's that horizontal bearing that can then lift it off to release. And the reason I have this on a free bearing is because this center point is offset from the center point. There's gonna be a little bit of sliding. So just to reduce friction, even though it probably doesn't matter, I'm gonna have that on a free flowing bearing. Okay, so here is the moment of truth. We're gonna find out if I rotate this first bearing by 180 degrees, is it strong enough? Is it on a lift? All right, we're on a lift. Oh, wait, what? Oh boy, that did not work the way, on reset on a lift. All right, down. Okay, so now what's supposed to happen is that is supposed to go that. All right, it just went through. It literally just went through. All right, this is way glitchier than I expected it was going to be. No, what if I do slow? Let's go slow. Maybe it's just going too fast. All right, ready and go. I feel like that second bearing is actually not helping us at all. So we're just gonna get rid of that and let's just use that. Let's see if this helps. All right, here we go. Come on, lift. Oh, it's not strong enough. It is not strong enough. How do we keep it going though? What if we have two of them? What if we put another one up there that's gonna be a little bit offset from this one? Just like that. So now they're gonna be working together. All right, I hope the bearings are facing the right direction. We're gonna find out, and go. All right, they're both going. They're both going. Are they strong enough to go the full 180? I don't know. Maybe if I have them go a little bit more. Let's try like 225. I think they might actually need to be a little bit longer. I think both of them have to be longer. Hey, oh no. Oh. Actually, that makes them less strong, doesn't it? Longer equals less strong. I knew this was gonna be a trouble point. I knew this was gonna be a trouble point. All right, I have a really weird idea on how to use pistons. This is gonna be oh no. That was a mistake. I should probably save this thing before I do anything super bad like that. All right, now I'm gonna try to work on this piston mechanism. And the funny thing is, like, I have no idea yet if this sling is even going to do anything. I just gotta figure out how to actually load the weight first. All right, but first let's try this piston idea. Let's see what we can do with this. All right, guys, I think I might have it. I haven't tested it yet. We're just gonna find out if it works. Oh boy. All right, here we go. You ready for this? All right, number 1. Number 2. Oh boy. That did not at all work like I intended. That was supposed to actually push it all the way, but apparently it's way too heavy. I thought pistons were gonna be stronger than that. I really did. That's disappointing. What if I use more pistons? Now it's gonna be triple the power piston, right? Maybe this will work. All right, let's see if triple power works. All right, so number 1. Number 2. Oh, wow. All right, I guess this thing is just heavy. You know what? Maybe if I have a combination of this and then the last idea, we'll do both of them. We'll have pistons and the last idea. Then both of them might be able to actually help each other out here. Okay, here we go. Combination of the both. All right, so now we press this one to get the arm going. All right, and then, oh, I should have actually probably done the piston for, oh no, it's working. Okay, now piston to help it out. Go, 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 go. All right, it's starting to come, oh, I am totally in the way. That was a mistake. All right, but now let's see number 3. Go, push, push. I'm waiting for that top piston needs to push up. All right, we need more piston power there. We're gonna triple up the piston power there. All right, another attempt. We're gonna start with the arm. We're gonna move the pistons into place, help the pistons push the arm, and now triple power, push the rest of it up. Ah, they don't have enough. They do not have enough. What if I add a little bit more? It's not even going. All right, you know what? What if we just use this anyway? All right, so we're going to go ahead, we release that. Oh, all right, and then number 1 should actually, no. This is not enough because we need to pull the sling down. Actually, nope, that's not gonna work. That is not going to work at all. All right, this is turning out to be a lot harder than I thought it was going to be. It might just be I have too much weight. Maybe we can just get rid of some weight. But what happens if I try my lift method again? What was the problem with this again? It was just too unreliable? Wow. Oh, don't tell me, don't glitch through. Do not glitch through. All right, nice and slow. Ugh. I remember why. I remember why this was an issue. All right, you want to be on this side? Fine, we'll be on this side. Let's go with this side then. Come on down. Come on down. Oh. Whoops. I'm looking like a big doofus right now. This is the most inconvenient trebuchet ever conceived. And oh no, it glitched through itself again. See, every single time this happens, then I have to disconnect it from the ground, put it back on a lift, and then re-weld it back to the ground just to see if I can start over again. And we haven't even gotten to the loading part yet. Why does Scrap Mechanic have to be so weird with physics? Why can't it just be easy? All right, it hasn't glitched through yet. And down. Oh, no. Oh. And there it goes, glitching through. You know what? You know what? I don't even want that part. We're just gonna delete that. There we go. There we go. Now we can continue. All right, come on down. I glitched through again. So this is the tough part about trying to do it realistically is it ends up being completely impractical for scrap mechanic physics. Well, just out of curiosity, if I keep it going down, oh, nope, that's not working either. Oh, I know what I can do. I just thought of an idea to make this so much easier. So what I'm gonna do is actually put the sling on a controller during the pullback part, and then once it's in position, then we can set it off the controller and have it be free floating. This might be a potential solution. All right, I think I got it. I think I got it. Now I just gotta weld it. Oh, this is the most convoluted process. And I know you're probably thinking about a bunch of different easier ways to do it, but hey, I'm live on recording right now. My mind isn't at its full problem-solving capacity. All right, let's see. What are we doing here? All right, now I'm just gonna try the old lift method. See what happens. Come on. It's lifting up. It's lifting up. All right. All right, we've gotten somewhere. Now, if I disconnect this, why is it not falling? That makes no sense. Oh, there we go. All right, it fell. Okay, so now I can disconnect this. Okay. Now we need something in this basket. Now if I put this right there, delete that. All right, it's in. It is in. The question is, once I release this lift, is it going to actually, of course we have trees right in the way, but you know what, that's okay. All right, here we go. I can probably delete that and that. All right, once I release, oh, and I want to release that. All right, once I release the lift, we might have a trebuchet thing happen. We're gonna find out. Here we go in 3, 2, 1, huh! It was so close. It looked like it was going to work. But then, of course, we have the issue of it not releasing. How do we resolve that issue? Oh, so it's really frustrating because I have, like, pretty much the basics of a working trebuchet. Like, it looks pretty awesome just by using it, but the problem is it doesn't release the projectile. Now, the way a normal trebuchet works is it actually has like a sling with a rope and stuff. And once the trebuchet reaches a certain point, one side of the sling releases, and that's all due to the centripetal force. So then once that releases, it actually stops carrying the ball and actually just lets go of the ball. How to do that in this, I can't really think of a parallel way to do that, given the grid system and the limitations that we have without like rope mechanics in this game. All right, here's what I'm gonna try to do. I'm gonna try to put this on the long way like that, but I'm gonna see, does it stay on if I delete this? No, it doesn't look like it's gonna stay on. You know what, I'm gonna try anyway. My feeling is that it's gonna fling out to the back, but I'm wondering if it'll catch it or not. So let's, what happens if I release that? Okay, all right. Let's see what happens now. Here we go. In 3, 2, 1, go. Nope. All right, it looks like it might, I don't know if there's a way to do it. I can't think of a way right now, at least, to do it where everything just works by gravity, like a real trebuchet. Everything is gravity fed. There's no mechanisms. There's like, there's nothing is powered on a trebuchet. You know, they were medieval devices, but I don't really see a way to get the thing to release out of the basket. I mean, it looks epic when it's about to shoot. So let's continue this into another part. If you guys want to see that, let me know down in the comments below. Do you want to see me try to make this thing actually shoot? But I need some advice. Can you think of a way for it to be purely gravity functional? Is there a way to get this thing to release simply by releasing this weight? That means no powered controllers, no sensors, no thrusters, anything like that. I really want to create a legitimate trebuchet that doesn't use any non-gravity based mechanisms. I mean, I am lifting it up with the lift, but that's just because we don't have a way to pull it down with a rope like you would in real life. So that's just a substitute for the fact that we can't do something that we should be able to do. So let's see if we can do this together. If you aren't already, make sure that you're part of the Discord. I read the Discord regularly, and if you guys have suggestions you want to put them there, do that, but definitely leave them in the comments too. I do try to read as many comments as I can, so if I see any interesting suggestions in the comments, I'll definitely go with one of those as well. So I hope that we can make this work. Let's see what happens. Let's see what you guys can come up with in the comments. I'll be thinking on it as well. And I guess maybe I'll see you next time if this is what you guys want to see. So definitely make sure, I'll actually leave a poll up. Do you guys want to see a part 2 to this? Do we want to see this work? I'm sure Jesse does. This was Jesse's idea in the first place. So I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. This has been ScrapMan, and I'll see you next time. Bye.